a problem on the AccuPlacer with rational expressions, the ones I've seen are typically addition and subtraction, and you'll know you have this kind of problem because you're going to have fractions with variables in them, and it will say you're going to be asked to find the difference, the sum, maybe multiply them or divide them. I'm going to do one of the subtraction problems since they are probably the trickiest if you have no idea what you're doing. So typically you're going to have two fractions with two variables, and your goal is to find a common denominator and then add or subtract the numerator. So that's the same way that we add or subtract regular fractions. So if we have 1/3 minus 1/4, we need a common denominator, which would be 12. I'm going to multiply this to get 12 in the denominator. For the first fraction, I would have to do 4/4. In the second fraction, I'd have to do 3/3. I get 4/12 minus 3/12, and that would be 1/12. So it's the same thing with rational expressions. And if you just have two, really the easiest thing to do, and I think I showed you this in class, is to take the denominator of the first one and multiply the second fraction by that expression over itself. So you're really multiplying by 1 and not changing the value, just like when you're finding a common denominator for a numeric fraction problem. And then for the other fraction, I look at the second denominator and I multiply the first one by that value over itself. Okay, so now my answer is going to have r plus 1, r minus 3 in it. Now, what to note, if you're using guess and check, you might be able to pick out the answer just by looking at the denominators. But just in case you're not, what you would then do is expand the numerator and combine like terms. So I'm going to have to FOIL the first expression. I'm going to get r squared plus 2r plus 1. And then I'm going to subtract. And here's where, if you're doing subtraction, you have to be careful, because after you distribute the 4, now when you're subtracting it, you're really adding a negative. So that 12, or subtracting a negative value for the 12, because the minus sign applies to both of them. So the last thing you're going to do is combine like terms. So I would get r squared minus 2r plus 12 all over r plus 1, r minus 3.